Once upon a time, in a peaceful forest filled with tall trees, bright flowers, and chirping birds, lived a rabbit who was known far and wide for his incredible speed. He could run faster than the wind, leap higher than the deer, and he always bragged about it. Every morning he would boast loudly, "No one in this forest can ever beat me in a race. I am the fastest. I am unbeatable." The other animals would simply smile, shake their heads, and continue with their work. They all knew the rabbit was fast, but they also knew he was far too proud. Living in the same forest was a gentle tortoise who spent his days quietly strolling along the grassy paths. He was slow, very slow, but he was wise, kind, and patient. He never bragged about anything, nor tried to show off. He simply believed in working steadily and giving his best. Whenever the tortoise heard the rabbit boasting, he would smile and continue his slow walk without saying a word. One sunny afternoon, the rabbit gathered a group of young animals and began his bragging once again. "Look at me. I can run from one end of the forest to the other in no time. I can beat anyone even if they start before me. Who dares to challenge me?" The little animals laughed and clapped, but quietly they felt annoyed. The rabbit's pride was just too much. Suddenly, a calm voice spoke from the back of the crowd. "Rabbit," said the tortoise in his slow, steady tone, "I challenge you to a race." The entire forest fell silent. The monkey dropped his banana, the birds stopped chirping. Even the rabbit stared in shock and then burst into loud, uncontrollable laughter. You want to race me?" the rabbit said, holding his stomach from laughing. "Oh, this is too funny. You can barely walk fast, and you want to beat the fastest animal." The tortoise nodded with a gentle smile. "Speed is not everything," he said softly. "Sometimes slow and steady can win the race." The other animals whispered among themselves. Some felt worried for the tortoise. Others felt hopeful, and many were curious to see what would happen. After all, this was a race no one had ever imagined. The wise owl, who was respected by all, fluttered down from the tall tree and said, "Very well, tomorrow morning we will hold the race. The whole forest shall gather to watch." The rabbit smirked proudly, while the tortoise nodded respectfully. The news of the race spread like wildfire through the forest. Every creature, big and small, planned to gather at sunrise. The next day, the forest buzzed with excitement. Animals gathered along the race path marked by sticks and stones. The starting line was under the big banyan tree, and the finish line was near the sparkling stream. The tortoise was already at the starting line, slowly warming his legs. The rabbit arrived hopping confidently, full of energy and pride. "Get ready to lose, tortoise," he teased. But the tortoise only smiled, calm as ever. The owl raised his wing and shouted, "Ready, set, go." The race began. In a blink, the rabbit zoomed off like a streak of white lightning. The crowd cheered loudly as he dashed ahead. Meanwhile, the tortoise took his first slow step, then another, and then another. He moved steadily, without rushing. Some animals felt worried. but the tortoise showed no fear. Far ahead on the track, the rabbit looked back and saw that the tortoise was far behind, so far that he looked like a tiny pebble on the road. "This is too easy," the rabbit laughed. "Why waste energy? I can rest for a while." He lay down under a shady tree, stretched his legs, and yawned. "I'll still win even if I sleep for a few minutes," he said proudly. Before he knew it, his eyes began to droop, and he fell into a deep, comfortable sleep. Meanwhile, the tortoise kept moving. Step by slow step, he passed the tall grass, the berry bushes, and the sleeping rabbit. He didn't look around. He didn't stop. He just continued on his steady path. The animals watching whispered in excitement as the tortoise moved closer and closer to the finish line. After a long while, the rabbit suddenly woke up with a big stretch. "Ah, what a refreshing nap. Now I'll finish this race and show the tortoise who's the champion." He jumped up and dashed forward with all his speed, but as he reached the final part of the track, his eyes widened in shock. The tortoise slow, steady, calm tortoise was only a few steps away from the finish line. "No, this can't be," shouted the rabbit, racing with all his might. But it was too late. The tortoise took his final step and crossed the finish line just before the rabbit reached it. The entire forest erupted with cheers. Birds flapped their wings, monkeys clapped, and the deer whistled in excitement. The tortoise had done the impossible. He had beaten the fastest animal in the forest. The owl flew down and declared, "The winner is the tortoise." The rabbit hung his head in embarrassment. He had lost a race he thought he could never lose. Tears filled his eyes as he whispered to the tortoise, "I'm sorry for making fun of you. I was too proud." The tortoise smiled and replied kindly, "That's all right, my friend. Remember, slow and steady wins the race. Pride can make even the strongest fall." The rabbit nodded, grateful for the lesson. From that day on, he never bragged again. He respected every animal, no matter how slow or small. And the forest remembered this race forever, teaching generations to come that hard work, patience, and humility can overcome even the greatest challenges. And so, in the heart of the forest, the story of the rabbit and the tortoise lived anon. Unforgettable reminder that true success belongs to those who keep going, no matter how slow their steps may be.